confession. That confession involves pipes, and it involves cracks. But it's not quite as exciting as you might think it is. I want to share with you today my passion, and that's my confession. I have a passion. I have a passion for water and sewer. I have a passion for asset management. And I have a passion for the services that we as the residents of Golden receive in our community for our taxes. And I want to share that passion with you today. And I haven't always been like this, just so you know. In 2002, when I ran for council, I wondered, what the heck does the town do with the money that we give them? What do they do? Why do I have to pay all this money? And I want to tell you that, what does the town do with all that money anyway? And I do want to tell you that if the federal government disappeared today, it may take you a month to figure that out. And if the provincial government disappeared, it might actually take you a day or a week, depending on what services you use from the provincial government. But if the municipal government disappeared today, it would take you probably less than an hour. So if you're drinking some water out of your cups, you'd know pretty shortly that the municipal government had disappeared. Why? Because there would be no water or sewer. There'd be no garbage collection. That's Mr. John Wilsgard in there. Or there'd be no recycling. There'd be no planning. There'd be no zoning. And of course, we know how some people feel about planning and zoning, but in the town, we kind of like planning and zoning. There would be no public recreational facilities, the very things that make our community a fantastic place to live and to be. There'd be no one to put out the fires, so health and safety would be at risk. There'd be no building inspection or bylaws, and again, we love to hate building inspection and bylaws, and we hate to love building inspection and bylaws, right? So ask yourself, what do you value? What do you value as a resident? What's important to you? Here's some of the services that you receive as a resident within the municipal boundaries for your taxes. There's an awful lot of them. I did a presentation the other day with some Boy Scouts, sorry, not Boy Scouts, it's Scouts. It's Cubs and Scouts, so it's boys and girls, which is fantastic. And I took this jar and I filled it up with candy, and then I took $1,500 worth of Monopoly money, and I handed it out to them. I handed some people 50, some people 100, some people, a couple hundred. And I said to them, I said, this jar here, and I listed all the services of local government. I said, this jar of candy here, it's worth $1,500. Can anyone buy it? And the kids are like, no. I said, well, what could you do to buy it? They were like, oh, we could put our money together. I was like, yeah, if you put your money together, if you pooled your money, you could buy all of these services for $1,500, and we could spread it out and we could share it. And so that's what they did. They pooled their money together, and I threw the candy out, and they all got candy, and they were all happy. But that's what taxes are. They are pooled money that we all put together so that we can get services. And we don't discriminate. So what's it worth? Now, I'm going to do a bit of a demonstration here, and I just want you to recognize that I'm not a business owner. I am a resident. I have a resident in town, so I pay residential taxes, so I recognize that there's a difference. So my household expenses, I pay $88 a week on my car, house, and life insurance. That's not an exaggeration. $88 a week on car, house, and life insurance added together. I pay $50 a week on phone and internet. That doesn't include cable because I don't have cable, just phone and internet. To live in this town, to get all those services, the list that you saw, my household pays $44 a week on taxes and utilities. I think that's kind of a good deal. So what's my message about today? It's time to talk asset management. And when the staff started talking to us about asset management, I wanted to pull my hair out, and so I did. So what's an asset? An asset is the built environment that we have around us. So all the facilities, some of it's underground, some things you can't see, water and sewer, pipes, and some of it's road infrastructure, building infrastructure. So it's the built environment around us. And one of the issues that local governments right across North America that they're facing, and that is the infrastructure deficit. We built all of this infrastructure, and we have politicians with 3-year mandates. So 3-year mandates, 100-year-old infrastructure. Nobody wants to run on a platform of, I'm going to save your money for the future. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. That's my promise. Sometimes that's hard to do. So here's an example of some of the assets in our community that are in good condition. And the reason they're in good condition is because our staff is keeping them in very good condition. Eventually, our infrastructure needs to be upgraded, replaced, or decommissioned. Here's an example of assets that are not in good condition. And I want you to know these are not pictures in Golden, but they are real pictures in North America of infrastructure in other communities. And what do we need? Money. The town of Golden is actually seen as a leader in asset management. And we're significantly ahead of our peers in terms of the work that's been done on asset management. And that's because of our absolutely fantastic staff. Why do we practice asset management? It's because we're trying to reach that balance between providing the infrastructure. It's that willingness. What are you willing to pay for? What do we want as a community? And then what are we willing to pay for? Our short-term intention and getting involved in asset management was actually to be the first out of the gate for the New Canada Build Fund. So we got ourselves ready. We're in it for the long term. So just so you know, this has been going on for years. Our staff have been working on the National Asset Management Strategy. Council adopted a policy. We've been putting it into our corporate work plan for years. This has been going on for years, but nobody's talking about it. We're trying to get your attention and talk about asset management, but like I said, it's not sexy. That's the title of my presentation. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. Nobody wants to talk about. We all want to talk about new stuff, but the reality is we've got a lot of stuff that we have to look after. So we're in it for the long term, and Council's been developing policies and doing asset management for several years now. So some of the policies adopted by Council, we want to be proactive rather than reactive. We want to retain the existing services and maintain the asset life cycles of the assets that we have. Staff capacity. So we've been putting staff resources because we acknowledge that it's really, really important, and it takes staff a lot of time. So Council has supported the required level of staff capacity to achieve and maintain its policy for proactive corporate asset management. Asset renewal focus, we've decided to focus on our high-value assets, that is our water, sewer, and road asset classes, over the others. But that doesn't mean we're not doing condition assessments on the other facilities because we are. Condition assessment funding, we've set aside money in our budget, and we've been doing regular condition assessments, and I'm going to demonstrate that just momentarily. And Council's also adopted a policy that they've agreed that they will borrow we'll do long-term borrowing as a valid tool. Why? We've been ready to go because we wanted to take advantage of those federal infrastructure grants. Unfortunately, those it took the province and the feds a while, so they've just opened up that New Canada Build Fund now. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Because it demonstrates best practices, and it leaves a legacy in this community of good policy. And this means lots of money. And that's the kind of thing we're not talking about. So right now I'm working on a research project on community engagement and asset management. And I put out a survey, and hopefully some of you filled out that survey. But what was really interesting was the fact that there's what was really interesting to me was the fact that that if you look at the question here, what's the cost of replacing one block of sidewalk? Most people answered $10,000. The answer is $80,000. Most people answered for one block of road with curb, gutter, water, and sewer lines, most people answered $500,000. They were out by $1 million. It's $1.5 million. Those are astronomical numbers. And so engaging the community, letting people know that we're talking about really big figures. It's important for you to understand that this is a very challenging issue. But it's a long-term problem that requires a long-term solution. And we want you to know that we're on it. So I'm quickly going to go through. Our staff have been working really hard, and they've done assessment on road conditions, water, and sewer. And what they've done is overlaid it and identified 19 projects. 19 projects, long-term projects that need to be looked at by rating the water, sewer, and the roads. We were hoping to get the new Canada Build Fund for those projects. And we're going to be looking at long-term borrowing. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to go too much over the financials, but I'll be happy to do that at another time. Invite me anytime and I'll talk about it. But what I want to say here is the check engine light is on. And how do we get the community to care? How do we get you to talk about it? How do we make sure that this is the kind of conversations that we have as a community, that this is really important? Because as a council, what we've struggled with is how do we balance the core services with all the other services that make our community a fantastic place to live? So, and I'm going to read this. In the interest of maintaining a standard of living for ourselves and the next generation, we must focus on a steady state of replacement of assets augmented by reasonable reserve levels and debt financing. And so asset management it's your problem, it's my problem, it's our problem. We know what the challenges are, and together as a community we can face those challenges and have those conversations so that our water and sewer and our roads and all of our facilities, that we take ownership over them and that we understand not only what the challenges are, but what the solutions are, because we're working on the solutions. So, like I said, I'm pretty passionate about this, and I'm looking forward to sharing my research results with you as a community in the near future. Thank you very much.